Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Katia and today I'm discussing Elena Knows by Argentinian author Claudia Pinheiro, translated by Francis Riddle from the original Spanish. This was a buddy read with Roz at Scallydandling about the book, so I'm going to link her channel as well in the video description below so that you get a chance to see what Roz thought about the book. I'm also going to be dividing the video into a discussion that is general and also one that goes into a spoiler section that actually touches on specific scenes within the book. So I'll give you the heads up when that happens, and I've also split the video into the chapters. In Elena Knows, we have a woman who is struck with Parkinson's and is setting out across the city of Buenos Aires as an unlikely detective to discover what has happened to her daughter Rita. Rita, a devout Catholic, is discovered hanging in the belfry of the church that she attended, and she has been a very active member of the Catholic community in that area. Authorities hastily declare it a suicide, but suicide is a sin in the Catholic Church, and Rita would have been fearful of committing suicide. So Elena knows this. Elena herself is irreligious, but she knows her daughter's beliefs, so she refuses to accept this hasty conclusion, which is where the story really kicks in. The afterword by Fiona McIntosh states that the author is a committed supporter of various high-profile campaigns, but that her advocacy is often overshadowed by her reputation as the queen of crime fiction. In this novel, the reader, however, gets a fuller picture of Claudia Pinheiro's concerns and commitments, because Elena Knows places the mystery in the background and then uses flashbacks to reflect on topical societal issues. I haven't read any other novel from Claudia Pinheiro, so I actually appreciated that the afterword clarified that, and the fact that this book stands apart from her other works. The book is short. I don't know why I put it down, because it is short and manages to pack in a lot. But I was initially put off by the repetitive plodding style. A few pages in and I was wondering about it. Then a little bit further and I realized that the narrative style, well, for me anyway, it reflected Elena's character and physical limitations, and I adjusted to it then. The plodding style is heightened by the margin-to-margin text, no speech marks for dialogue, and the way it copies the step-by-step process Elena needs to take to push herself across the city while her body is resisting the urging of her mind to do what she needs it to do. The book takes place over one day, but is supplemented by insightful flashbacks about a turbulent mother-daughter relationship, wonderfully complex. It also covers the indignity of bureaucracy, the hardships of ill health, and religious dogma. Buddy reading is often helpful for these sorts of reflective reads, and Roz's insights started out really early in our reading when she noted the various ways that the author shows the lack of control of the characters over their bodies, particularly women. The discussion here includes physical disability, diktats from the church, legal processes, and the lack of autonomy for women over their own bodies because of the forceful imposition by men and other women. So in the spoiler section toward the end of this video, I will be looking at the latter part around the control of other women's bodies by other people. I think the story focuses a lot on our human arrogance as a whole. Elena is a force to be reckoned with, and to a certain extent, so was her daughter Rita. They seemed like magnets that pushed and pulled at each other, but especially pushed, unless they sort of like flipped over and then pulled together. But that pulling together came across really unhealthy, abrasive, and codependent. It had that sort of resentful feeling to it. The book has 3 sections titled Morning, Midday, and Afternoon. These are further divided based on Elena's medication schedule, which she must follow to enable the minimal control she has over her body during that day. So I thought that was really cleverly set out. Overall, I think this is a compelling and thought-provoking read with an unconventional style that is blunt and insightful. It's currently rated 4.11 on Goodreads, and I agree with that rating. I am now going to go into spoiler territory in 3, 2, 1. On the 24th of January 2021, abortion became legal in Argentina for the first time since 1886. The landmark shift resulted from decades of committed grassroots agitation by activists from various walks of life, including the author. Abortion in a conservative and profoundly Catholic society is or does become a central component of the story, and quite surprisingly, although there was some foreshadowing, the loss of control over one's body can be due to a cruelty of nature, genes or environment and the like, which cause ill health. That's the case for Elena, where we've got Parkinson's being that force beyond her control. But some of the forces that control our bodies can be other people. And I won't go into institutions like the law and the church. I was just focusing on the people-to-people interactions in this book. And what struck me really was, as a teenager, Rita being subjected to an invasive internal examination because her mother decides that having periods that aren't heavy must mean that Rita hasn't got a uterus. I thought this so odd. And she also says Rita has started her period late, which is nonsense. I might have started earlier than Rita, and it might be TMI, but I know that a lot of my friends started later. This section read so absurd to me, but yet realistic, because I can imagine someone as forceful as Elena insisting on this for their daughter. As the mother, Elena has the power and then lacks the compassion for her daughter during the procedure. This part of the story made me want to dislike Elena a lot. But the author did such a brilliant job of making her complex that I did not like or dislike her in the end. I don't know what you thought. Let me know if you find her likable at the end of this. Now, Father Juan, Rita's priest, accuses Elena of the sins of pride and arrogance, to think that you know everything, even when the facts show something else. And he's not entirely wrong, and on reflection I found that seems true for most of the characters in the book. Pride and arrogance also led Rita to take away Isabel's autonomy, one of those people who only had independence fleetingly, and I felt so bad for her. As a reader, I understood her pain at having someone who thinks they know better come along when she's vulnerable and force her down a path she hoped to escape. Ultimately, when Elena reaches her destination, the revelations are so brutal, and yet it just felt like the perfect ending. Never isn't a word that applies to our species, Isabel says. And then, that whole emphasis of the title, Elena Knows, being emphasized numerous times during the narrative. Elena knows this. It all works perfectly for that ending to highlight how easily people are blinded by their misguided convictions. I found this book so clever, and there are some scenes that will stick with me for a while where I was just like, this is unbelievable, and yet believable in how unbelievable it is, including the fact that the mass went ahead with Rita still being up in the belfry. There was just so much in this book to, appreciate. And that concludes my thoughts on Elena Knows. Do let me know in the comment section, and if you have any spoiler comments, do mention that you're going to go into spoiler territory and then put whatever you thought, because I'd love to discuss the book with someone. And do check out Roz's thoughts as well. Thanks so much for joining me, and take care. Bye.